Welcome to the Besties with Breasties podcast. Sarah Hall here. I am a certified health and wellness coach, athletic trainer, mom, and breast cancer survivor. I help women overcome their own mind drama to make mind shifts that open up the possibility for their most empowered and energetic life.
And I am Beth Wilmus, author, speaker, and founder of a human investment organization, otherwise known as a nonprofit, called Faith Through Fire. Our mission is to reduce the fear and anxiety that breast cancer patients feel and replace it with hope and a path toward thriving.
This podcast is about our experiences with breast cancer
and life after as young survivors and moms. I was anxious, man.
I feel like we're like the road runner today.
After out of the gate, I was like talking, and you're like, "We're not on the air.
We not even pressed record yet.
We haven't pressed record." I was moving ahead.
It's like Beth went off before the gun got fired.
I know.
Slow down, girl. Slow down.
I know. I'm feeling like all stiff.
My grandma used to say, "Hold your horses.
Hold your horses.
Hold your horses."
Oh Lord, we're getting squirrely.
We are.
After this, I am going to go check out OsteoStrong, which is our guest today. So I've been having like hip pain, and I think it's related to being having osteopenia. So do you worry about your bone health?
No.
You don't worry about it? You feel like you've done all the things?
Well, I lift heavy stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had my DEXA scan, and they said, "Oh, you have the beginnings of osteoporosis," and I'm too young.
So did you have that like right after treatment or before?
It was before. It was like when I was doing my hormone therapy.
Oh,
which is what depletes your bones.
Yeah.
Anyway, the lead up to having Mike as our guest is that Mike owns some OsteoStrong locations. It builds your bone health back up. We had him come speak to our mentor group because we're always constantly educating ourselves on the services that exist in the community so we can refer patients to them. So today's guest is Mike Baue, and Mike's going to share his story of going from chronic back pain to restored health and how he believes bone health was key to fixing his dysfunction. So we're going to hear his testimony.
We're going to hear about the dangers of bone loss from illness like breast cancer or aging.
Yep. And the system that OsteoStrong is that safely enables you to place a very brief but adequate pressure on your help me out.
Musco.
Musco.
You're thinking about Moscow mules, aren't you?
I am.
Musculoskeletal.
There you go. System to grow new bone and muscle tissue naturally.
Before we introduce Mike, though, let's cut to our first sponsor. Thrivent is a proud sponsor of Faith Through Fire. Thrivent believes money is a tool and not a goal. The Gateway Financial Group with Thrivent is local to the St. Louis area and can work with you to create a financial strategy that reflects your priorities and helps you protect the things that matter to you, like family and giving back. Please call 314-783-4214 to schedule a free consultation with one of Thrivent's Gateway Financial Advisors.
All right. Well, welcome, Mike. Thanks for being here today.
I am so glad to join you.
Awesome. Well, let's start with your story. You're a pretty fit guy. Was that always the case?
Well, off and on, mostly on, but some off. So what led me to really this interview is the fact that, I'm involved in bone and muscle tissue remodeling, and that's often a result from aging or disease or whatnot. But my story of how I got involved in this, I'd always been in the finance world. I'm a musician. I do some other things. In my 30s, I smoked at the time, and I quit smoking, and I decided I wanted to start running. So I began running, and what I didn't know is that I have a degenerated L5 in my back disc, and that led to pain. And this is the real short version. And the pain was tremendous. And ultimately, it was debilitating. I couldn't move. I couldn't get off the floor. Now, this is over about a 10-year period. I had this horrible, debilitating pain. Went to chiropractic, had wonderful results in realignment, but I kept going out of alignment, and I had constant pain. And a friend of mine owned a company called OsteoStrong and said, "Hey, you should check it out." And I said, "No way, it's stupid. It won't work." She said, "Hey, free membership. You should try it." I'm like, "Fine, I'll throw everything at it." My pain that I could, including the kitchen sink. And I went, and lo and behold, about 6 months in, I was pain-free. And still, 7 years later, 100% pain-free. I feel amazing. I'm at 55 years old. I feel better. I'm stronger. I'm healthier. than I've ever been. So that's the short version.
That's awesome. Well, I was kind of saying in our intro that, we brought you in to talk to our survivor mentors, because we like them to know all of the resources available when they're mentoring survivors about what's available to them. And bone health is something that a lot of breast cancer survivors are worried about. We're on a lot of estrogen suppressing drugs, and that can affect our bone health. Why is bone health so important? And you kind of said something that I thought was fascinating in our meeting about what kind of athletes have the best bone health. Can you kind of talk about like why is bone health so important, and why do these athletes have such great bone health, and what do we need to be doing?
Absolutely. So bone health is critical because if you don't have a strong and stable musculoskeletal system, you're going to lose mobility over time. As we age, the aging process is really just degeneration. That's kind of what aging is. But along the way, relating to breast cancer survivors and other cancer survivors, those treatments, some diseases and some treatments accelerate the degeneration, meaning you're just aging quicker. Now with breast cancer, it's really comes down to the suppression of the estrogen and other things. So there's a whole rabbit hole we can go down there. But with respect to bone health, as you lose bone and muscle tissue density, you lose mobility, you lose physical ability, you begin to succumb to some of the symptoms of aging, loss of range of motion, maybe some pain, some joint pain, back pain, hip pain. Maybe you start developing arthritis, and really it's all about mobility, right? We want to be strong and mobile. So
I was going to say, I think one of the stats that I remember you saying was that 21% of older adults die within a year of a hip break, right? I mean, we're kind of conditioned to know that hip break is like, ooh, that's not good, right?
Yeah,
so when you're
those fractures, yeah, exactly. It's actually from the CDC, from American Bone Health and other sources, the research shows that it's actually 33% of hip fractures post age 50 result in death in the first 12 months. So 33% of those hip fractures post age 50 result in death. That's a higher death rate than heart disease.
That's insane.
So,
and what do we attribute that to? Because I mean, I'm like, is it because you literally can't walk, or I mean, what is it about a hip fracture that leads to death within 12 months? I was always confused by
loss of mobility and infection in a lot of cases because you're laid up in bed, you're in the hospital, so you get infection. It's especially in the even the elderly, you often just give up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how much of that is a mental piece? Because like you said, when your mobility is affected and you lose your quality of life, like some people, I mean, everybody's had that elderly relative where they're like, peace out, I'm done. And they just stop trying.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
You just give up.
Yeah.
That's a big component. I don't know the data on that, but that's a big portion of it. Once you lose that mobility, and this is a side note, and I'm going to circle back and answer the question about who has the strongest bones. But this is interesting. When my wife and I, before we started OsteoStrong, and by the way, OsteoStrong is a business, a system, a patented system that allows people to regenerate bone and muscle tissue naturally. Right. So before we started OsteoStrong, before we bought a franchise and opened, my wife and I started asking seniors around us, hey, what's the most important thing to you as you age? Being a businessman, a finance guy, I thought it was going to be something like finances. I thought it was going to be, I want, family legacy, finance. How are my kids going to get along? But you know what it is? It's what seniors and people as they age, what they care about when it really comes down to brass tacks is mobility. Once you lose your mobility, you give up. And listen, this is critical. The data is clear. People don't, by and large, enter into skilled care, nursing care, because they're sick. It's because you can't get out of your chair.
Right. Yeah, you can't live independently anymore.
Right.
You just can't get up and take yourself to the bathroom or cook or do the things you need to do.
Right.
So mobility is critical. And that's where we're going with this. Bone density is the foundation of mobility. If you don't have strong bones, you don't have a strong body, period.
Right.
There's a link through the central nervous system between the strength of the muscles and the strength of the bones. As your bones degenerate from aging, your muscles degenerate as well, because your muscles can't be stronger than your bones can handle in a normal, healthy person. Yeah. So when Dr. Jaquish, who invented this technology, was told that his mother had a diagnosis of osteoporosis, he immediately began to research on ways to reverse osteoporosis naturally. And that's what we do. We help people do that. And what he discovered was that gymnasts have the highest bone density of anybody in the world. Any class of people you can imagine. It's gymnasts.
Which is exactly the opposite of what I would think, because when you see them doing all those flips and they're slamming their bodies around, I would have thought they would have been full of screws and bolts, you know? Like,
Well, you know what? You're pretty spot on. See, their bones are really dense, but their joints are shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they retire.
And that's
at
why
the
they
ripe
tend to be a
old
little
age of
short.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
19,
Okay.
20 years old, they're overdone and out, and they're working in the office.
Interesting. You're right, because the joint and the bone health are two separate things.
Yeah.
So
So your bones
I
get
was really
really bad.
scared about my daughters getting into gymnastics because it does stuff to your growth plates too. Not that we're not vilifying gymnastics. That's not why you're here. But anyway, yeah.
It's a beautiful sport, and
It
the
is.
truth, gymnasts are the strongest athletes
Mhm.
pound for pound. If you take a heavy, strong man, strong woman, kind of big muscle bound person, and look at the explosive strength pound for pound, gymnasts are the strongest people in the world.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's
that's
not
cool.
a bad thing. It's just really bad in your joints and your hips, and there's a lot of knee replacements and hip replacements in that sport. But relating this back to cancer treatments, so many ways that we treat cancer begin to leach bone mineral density. And what that does is it accelerates the degeneration, accelerates the aging process. So when we started working with cancer patients, we just saw remarkable results in obviously mobility, but just, the ability to continue, endurance, strength. You can actually regain that strength that you had, but better yet, you can even increase it beyond what you had.
And I would imagine you probably see when you work with people and you see that their bone density gets better and their strength gets better, that like all of a sudden their mental health gets better, and like it's just kind of a
Cascading
cascading
100%.
effect. Yeah.
It really is, because once the first thing that happens by doing this osteogenic loading process, number one is your balance increases. So if you take somebody who, let's say, is this healthy and they have this much balance, and then somebody who is this healthy but has this much balance, the person with better balance is going to have a better mental state. They're able to do more. They can get up and do more things, right? So it is a progressive realization of health. So not only do your bones get denser, your muscles get denser and stronger, your balance increases, and your overall health begins to improve. The way the muscles strengthen, it's a process called myofibular hypertrophy, where you actually gain more myofibrils in your muscle. They get denser and thicker and stronger. They don't get bigger. It's kind of like replacing a clothesline. You got a 1/4-inch rope. Replace that 1/4-inch rope with a 1/4-inch steel cable. It's the same size. It's just way stronger. That's what happens to your muscles. But also, because of that, your myofibrils, they're related to the processing of blood glucose in the conversion of blood glucose to ATP energy. That means that people with type 2 diabetes actually have reversed their diabetes in our centers too.
Oh, jeez.
So
you guys are curing everything.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, diabetes.
Hold on. We don't diagnose or cure. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the truth is when you regenerate bone and muscle tissue, so many things, it's like painting a picture, and these just other parts of it begin to gel on their own, right? Because your state of mind improves, you're more mobile, you can do more things. One of the things that I talk with people about, especially people coming out of cancer treatment, is, do you remember when you would think a thought like, I want to climb these stairs, and your body would just do it, and you didn't have to wonder
what's gonna hurt?
Right.
Yeah.
Or am I going to make it?
You can actually do that again. You can just think the thought and say, I'm going to climb those stairs, and your body can go climb the stairs without a second thought. You don't have to worry about, am I going to deplete every last ounce of energy in carrying the groceries in, or climbing, or riding the bicycle, or, you get more strength, stability, endurance, stamina, those types of things.
I think what I'm hearing from you is what we hear from a lot of people who offer holistic health to patients who need it, is that you're not curing anything, but what you're doing is you're setting the body up optimally to heal itself,
to do what it's supposed
to do what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're creating the environment for the body to do what it's capable of. Is that fair?
That's fair. But our technology actually, and we have the data, the research to show it, our technology actually is a restorative technology. Meaning, let me give you this example. When you're younger, 30 years old, you're about as thick and dense your bones and muscles are as they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And then you begin degenerating, the slow process of aging, right?
Mm-hmm.
What OsteoStrong technology does, it actually begins to regenerate that bone and muscle tissue. So it's a restorative process of what you've lost. What has been degenerated can be regenerated. Now, what that does, though, it does impact all the other systems of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So it is putting your body in a state. So you're 100% correct. But with this restorative technology, this robotic musculoskeletal tissue regeneration, it's not only creating an environment, but it's restoring what was once there.
Well, that's pretty unique. I mean, the fact that you can restore bone health and regenerate bone is pretty astounding. Because
really
we'd all
cool.
been kind of led to believe that it is what it is, right?
Yeah, once you start aging, it's the roller coaster to the end.
And I want to get into too, because I remember from your talk about how much force is needed to rebuild that bone. And I don't know that you can really achieve it outside of this specific equipment, right? But before we kind of go into all that, do you want to do our segment Boobs in the News with us, Mike?
Okay.
Boobs in the News is a fun segment where we read funny tweets by real people or ridiculous news stories.
Boobs in the news, boobs in the news, boobs in the news.
All right, this one, the title is Mountain Lion Claws Man in Hot Tub in Colorado.
Oh, this sounds so sad already.
Well, Colorado's like your happy place,
It
right,
is.
Sarah?
It's my happy place.
Yeah. Are you a big Colorado guy, Mike?
My wife loves Colorado. Her best girlfriend lives there, so she goes a lot. I don't go a lot to Colorado, but
I'm the same
I
way.
love the hot tubs and the outdoors, and I love the mountain view. I can't even imagine just sitting there having a
Being
glass
ruined.
of water.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So this man was in a hot tub with his wife at a rental home in central Colorado, and he's like soaking in this in-ground hot tub in a wooded subdivision on a Saturday, and all of a sudden he felt something grab his head. Okay.
I mean, obviously he's right. Like, he gets to tell the story, so he lives.
Yeah, he lives.
Oh, okay,
This is
good.
a happy
Phew.
story.
Okay, good. Oh,
So-
it's happy.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
he lives, right?
This isn't a wooded neighborhood. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. So he screams at the mountain lion and starts splashing
Heck yeah.
water at him, okay? While his wife grabs a flashlight and shines it in his face. So I'm actually very
Wow.
impressed at the reaction.
No
Because
kidding.
I would probably just scream and like run away, but they like kind of come at him like,
Yeah.
get out of here.
And
So
I would come out swinging.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
would you? See, I don't know. I don't know how I would respond to that. So authorities said that it retreated after they did that to the top of the hill and continued to watch the couple.
Oh my
So
gosh.
They were able to kind of sneak out of the tub and get back into the house where they cleaned up his wounds.
Oh.
And then they had to call the property owner, who happened to work for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Department. So this man had like 4 superficial scratches on the top of his head and near his right ear, but he declined medical treatment. You know how they
Wow, so he was like that good.
Oh, I mean, I think he just kind of swatted at him.
Wow.
Can you imagine? You're
One good sucker punch and that thing's running.
right,
Yeah.
no
right.
kidding.
Pretty much just got to sock him in the nose.
So this
like
guy,
a shark.
this guy that's from the wildlife, department, he said, we think it's likely the mountain lion saw the man's head move in the darkness at ground level, but didn't recognize it was people and basically kind of swatted at him. So he said that the couple did do the right thing though by making noise and shining the light. So
Well, that's good to know.
yeah. So they started
I wouldn't have thought of the light. I definitely would have swung, but I wouldn't have thought of the flash. That's
Well,
great.
now you know.
well,
I
yeah.
know.
So like basically they set a trap for this guy, but they don't say what they did with him once they like caught him.
Huh.
So I don't know.
Okay,
You know
so-
what? They actually, we've seen mountain lions in our area here.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I can't
well,
imagine.
bobcats for sure.
Well,
Bobcats.
so I don't know who the boobs are because I actually think the couple did a really good job.
They did a stellar
Like
job.
spot on.
Yeah.
Maybe
Heck
it's,
yeah.
I guess it's the mountain lion
the mountain
for
lion.
coming to an uninvited party.
Right, no kidding. That is not a bunny,
No,
sir.
no.
That is a human head.
There's your boobs in the news.
Boobs in the news, boobs in the news, boobs in the news.
All right, we're back. So explain, Mike, like how much pressure, how does it work for people that, because you believe in this so much that you bought 2 OsteoStrong stores. So how does the equipment work and what can people expect when they join?
Well, the great thing is that I don't actually have to believe in it. It works whether I believe in it or not.
Right.
That's the glory of it.
Right.
This technology is based on about 140 years of science.
Yeah.
Going back to the 1890s. I guess that's 130 years.
Well, you're a business guy. You're not gonna, get behind something that doesn't have good sound data behind
100%.
it. Yeah.
I had a great career before I did this. The last thing I needed to do was quit my cushy corporate job with the salary and the vacations and, all that stuff. But this was life-changing, so I had to do it. I felt called to do it. But aside from that, you can regenerate bone and muscle tissue. Here's the thing. And you did ask, maybe I heard or didn't hear the question right, but the answer is, can you do this outside of OsteoStrong? Well, theoretically you could, yeah. The problem is, we all know that weight bearing is the best thing for your bones. Everybody knows that, weight bearing, right? But you put the word exercise after it. Well, as soon as you put the word exercise after it, that's like repetitive motion. As soon as you add repetitive motion to the equation, then you can't put enough pressure on your bones to trigger the osteogenic cycle. So our bodies, and I want to make this as simple as possible, our bodies respond to stimulus. Sunlight will cause our skin to heat up. And then ultimately, there's this information transfer from our skin through our central nervous system to our brain. And our brain says, gee, Mike, your skin's getting hot. We should turn on the sweat glands, right? So it happens involuntarily. When was the last time you were standing in the sun and going, man, I'm getting hot, I better start sweating? You don't. It happens automatically. Right. So same with your pupils dilating when you turn the lights off. Those are natural adaptive responses. Mm-hmm. So our bodies have natural adaptations to stimuli. Pressure and stress on the bone causes an automatic response in all of us called osteogenesis. That's the upregulation of osteoblasts in our blood. And that's what begins the remodeling process with osteoblasts and osteoclastic activity. So here's the thing. When you put stress on a bone in an axial load, you put pressure on the bone, weight-bearing load, in sufficient amounts, all of us as humans, it's a human condition, can trigger osteogenic activity and remodel bone. Now, can you do it in a gym? In your small bones, you can. But the problem is nobody ever died of an ankle fracture or a rib fracture or a wrist fracture, right? Mm-hmm. You die of the hip fractures. The hip is the critical system. Well, we know through research that the hip requires 4.2 multiples of your body weight of compressive force or stress to begin the remodeling process. So do the math. 100-pound person has to squat 420 pounds to trigger osteogenesis. It's not going to happen.
Who's doing that?
I guess just the gymnasts.
Yeah.
Well, and they're probably not doing 420 pounds either. But when they land from the routines, their floor exercises and when they launch off the uneven bars and they land, boom, right? It's that impact. They're experiencing between 5 and 6 multiples of their body weight of compressive force through their entire musculoskeletal system. Well, guess what? At OsteoStrong, the way we do the biomechanics, we correctly biomechanically align people. We have 90-year-old, 95-year-old men and women putting 10, 12, 15 multiples of compressive force, multiples of their body weight of pressure on their hips.
Wow.
They're triggering osteogenesis, reversing bone loss. It's not even a question of, if I have osteoporosis, should I do this? That's heck yeah. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you better get into an OsteoStrong. If you are aging and simply can't perform like you desire to, and one of the jokes we always, I love having fun with people that come in, prospects, and they try a session and they talk about their joint pain, their back pain, their hip pain, neuropathy, fibromyalgia, all the things. And I'm like, yeah, you're just not 30 anymore, are you? Like, oh, that's it. That's my condition. I'm not 30.
Well, how many people say that though? Like, I'm 42 now and I'm like, well, I'm just getting older. And it's like, no, you really shouldn't have osteopenia at 42.
That's because our society conditions us to think that you're
really
getting older.
Shouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. And listen, I love and bless the fact that people can grow older gracefully, but I don't accept not being able to physically perform. Yeah. I don't accept, I'm 55 and I have a 10-year-old son. I reject the notion that I can't go play catch with him and roll around on the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to be a grandpa.
This is why it's part of our quality of life series, because to your point, mobility and having a good quality of life is what everybody cares about. Right.
Yep. It really is. And once you take away mobility, people give up.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. For the people out there that are exercise haters, right? They're thinking they got to come in and work out like a gym, but it's not the same way, right? How much
No,
do they
not at
need to
all.
how often do they need to come in? Is it a hard workout to see results? Like, what does that look like?
Well, first of all, it's not exercise. It's more like therapy, but it's not repetitive motion. So take physical therapy where you might have a knee that needs rehab and they're working that knee back and forth. They're strengthening, right? We don't do that. There's no repetitive motion. Our sessions take about 20 minutes once a week. And literally the regenerative portion of it's like 10 minutes.
Wow.
There's no pain or no sweat. You do have to work. You push, you pull, you lift, you tug one time on each machine. Once you reach sufficient loading, and I use the word stress, but I want to be cautious about that. Once you put sufficient stress on the bones, then it triggers that automatic response in your body. Well, kind of think of it like this way. Once you stand in the sun long enough in the summer, you're going to start sweating, right? Once you put enough stress on the bone, you're going to begin regenerating. And it's simple. It's pain-free. There's no pain. There's no sweat. 20 minutes once a week for most of our members. And there's no repetitive motion. When you're done, you're not tired. You leave, you're energized. You're actually a little more physically and you just feel more up than you did when you came. It's really remarkable. And I don't want you to think it's a magic pill. It's not. You have to come in every week and do it. But the big message here for many of your listeners, and I think many of your listeners are going to be from the breast cancer survivorship or their families and friends. Listen, there is hope and it's not hard. There's real hope.
Yeah.
And that's the message is if you want to be restored and if you want to be physical and you want to have that quality of life and the stability, energy, stamina that you once had and even greater, you can.
Yeah.
You absolutely can.
I think there's a lot of hope when people realize that it doesn't have to be hard, that it can be as easy as just putting one foot in front of the other or just coming in or, like it's not a huge hurdle.
Mike, do you recommend that they go and get a DEXA scan before they come to like compare before and after? Or how does, in terms of people who have like, osteopenia or they're trying to revert, build new bone, like, is there a baseline?
Well, yes. If you're concerned, if you have a family history of osteopenia, osteoporosis, if your mom had it, your grandma had it, if your grandma was kyphotic, hunchback real bad, go get a DEXA scan, get that document, have your doctor order one. You can actually get them. If we have a lot of listeners here in the St. Louis area, you can actually go to a Logan Chiropractic with a request from your chiropractor. And it's really inexpensive to get a DEXA scan.
Okay.
But yeah, get that baseline, come to us for a year and then go get another check. And you should anticipate a nice gain in bone density. A lot of it depends on, I will tell you this though, in full transparency, you want to do the best you can with your overall health. You want to, you want to get good nutrition. You want to drink some fluids. You want to get some exercise and sleep well. Everything's interdependent, right? So be as healthy as you can. If you're concerned about bone density, you can get that DEXA scan before you come, but it's not necessary. Just come.
Okay.
Because
awesome.
you're going to get stronger regardless.
Before we tell people where they can find you and your locations, let's hear from our second sponsor. It's important to have a primary care doctor that you can count on. At BJC Healthcare, world-class and compassionate primary care providers are ready to see you at offices close to home. And you can count on BJC to make it easy with convenient online scheduling, virtual visits, and direct messaging. To find a BJC primary care provider near you and to schedule an appointment online, visit bjc.org/primary care.
All right, we are back. So can you provide everybody with ways that they can get in touch with you if they have any questions and where you are located?
Yeah, so let me tell you, first of all, our corporate website, this is a franchise, it's all over the world. So our corporate website is www.osteostrong.me. That's osteostrong.me. Locally, we're all over the socials. Search OsteoStrong on Facebook, OsteoStrong O'Fallon, OsteoStrong St. Peter's. In O'Fallon, we're 44 Crossroads Plaza. That's really near the intersection of K and N. In St. Peter's, we're near the Cave Springs exit. So right in that area, right across from the Cave Springs bowling alley. There are locations all over St. Louis, all over the country, all over the world. We're taken over for bone health. When you Google, can you cure osteoporosis? Can you reverse it? Medical technology is going to say no. Once you're diagnosed with osteoporosis, you never get rid of it. It's not true.
Mm-hmm.
We have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of members around the world who have reversed their osteoporosis and will likely never have it again for the rest of their natural lives.
Mm-hmm.
Once you restore your bone health, you can absolutely restore it. You can absolutely strengthen and stabilize your entire musculoskeletal system. So
We need to get Google straight.
I know, right? Well, I'm heading your way, Mike. I've got it on the calendar. I'm heading your way, and I appreciate everything that you've said today. Thank you for sharing your story and the information. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite. I love it, and I love what you guys are doing. It's so powerful what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you so
guys.
much.
Until next time.
See ya.
Thank you for being a listener of the Besties with Breasties podcast. If this podcast had a positive impact on your journey, leave us a review or consider becoming a supporter. You can donate with the link in the show notes or at faiththroughfire.org. This episode was hosted by Sarah Hall and Beth Wilmus, audio and production edits by Innovative Frequencies.